Greetings, 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 everyone. Thank you all for tuning in and welcome to another edition of Female Barber Talk with Yah-Tay. Let me look, everything beeping and beeping. But welcome to another edition of Female Barber Talk with Yah-Tay. I am Yah-Tay Keaton, your host. I'm also a barber stylist and barber educator. And tonight's segment is part of the Think Like a Barber series, Foundation, Focus, and Execution. This is where skills meet structure and structure builds professional. Y'all, professionals. I'm saying professionals. Well, professionals. You know what I'm saying. So tonight's episode is episode 81. It's part of a 10-part series for the Think Like a Barber segment. And we're getting into the subject of blending. As you can see here, I feel like I'm struggling tonight. I feel like I'm struggling. But anywho, let's get into it. We're talking series 81. Episode 81. This is the fifth segment within this series of Think Like a Barber. If you've missed the rest, check them out. I have them on a playlist. If you're watching from YouTube, there is a playlist that's put together called Think Like a Barber, and there are 4 episodes in there currently. If you haven't seen them, it's episode 69, 70, 71, and 72. 69 was about the consultation, and the consultation is the cut before the cut. And then episode 70, which is video number 2 within this segment, dealt with seeing it before you cut it. Visualize the outcome. Is really talking about visualizing the cut. Before you actually get into the cut. You got to see it before you actually do it. The next one is number 3, episode 71, and it's called Sectioning is Strategy. You control the hair, you control the cut. All right. The fourth one is episode 70, guard work and length control. Stop guessing with clippers. Know what you're removing. That is episode number 72. And of course, we've had a few in between that, but we're sticking with it. And now we're on episode number 81. Blending isn't magic, it's method. Basically, you got to trust the process. So we're going to get into this subject tonight. So as I get going into this, first, I want to thank you for joining. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this podcast, especially if you know any new barbers out there, those who are considering barbering, those who actually haven't gone to school and are doing OJT, whatever their position is in the barbering industry. My focus is geared towards those who are considering it, thinking about getting into the field, and those who are newly in the barbering industry. So we're going to jump into this. A smooth fade is not luck, y'all. Some may think it's luck, but it's not luck, and it's definitely not magic. A lot of new barbers think blending is some secret that talented people are born with, or people with talent are born with. Yes, you may have some barbers out there that are talented and they can cut and they can fade. But I bet you one thing, even in them having the talent and being able to fade and do all of those different things, I would venture to say that a good portion of them have a system that they use, and they've practiced and mastered their particular system in order to blend well. So blending is structure, it's patience, it's consistency, and understanding your transitions. I got Pretty Ricky here. We're going to work with Pretty Ricky tonight. We got some folks popping in. Let's see who's joined us this evening. Hey, Cheryl, thank you for joining. What's up? Thank you. That's the hair oracle out there in California joining. Yes, I got to share this. So if you all aren't following Afro Hair Science, check them out Monday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's 3 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Yeah, West Coast, because I'm on East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, that's 3 p.m. And then again on Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. And that is 5 p.m. West Coast Standard Time. So check out Cheryl, the Hair Oracle, and LaDosha Wright, Key Lolo, as they bring us the history of hair. They bringing us everything from the history to health, you name it, they bringing it to us. So tonight we're getting into blending isn't magic, is really a method, and trusting that process of blending. So once again, it's structure, it's patience, it's consistency, and it's understanding transition. So today, I'm going to break down why the best fades come from process, not panic. So don't y'all be panicking out there. All right. So as always, I have 3 points. I got ChatGPT to help me with some illustrations so that you can see them, hit on a few key points, share with you all some of my personal experiences. And like I say, I got our handy dandy buddies up here. This is Pretty Ricky. I don't know what we're going to call him. Afro Freddy? I don't know. But I brought him out too. And then y'all know this is my buddy Cornrow. I still haven't cut his sides yet. I got to get on it. I need to cut his sides and back because a lot of my clients have their sides and back cut. And I mainly style, braid, box braid, plait, twist, whatever you want to call it, 2-strand twist. I basically design the top, cut and fade the sides. So I got to get with it. That's why he's clipped off. Because if you was in some of the other episodes, I end up braiding him after the fact and then clipping him off. But I got to go ahead and get me my get my masters and go and clean him up and fade him out a little bit so that he can have his sides and back gone. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about 3 points. And then I have what I call real talk moments about various things as it relates to the subject that I see barbers do, I've done. I'm going to share those points with you, and then we're going to close it out. So the first point that I'm going to discuss with you is talking about guidelines create direction. You got to have guidelines. And that first guideline is very important, because if that first guideline isn't set up right, guess what? Your whole fade is going to be off. But in talking about that, no guidelines equal no roadmap, and guidelines actually organize the fade. They help you progress through the fade, whether you're fading in some instances from top to bottom or bottom to top. I personally like to fade from bottom to top. I can fade top to bottom. Some fade in sections, meaning they fade this section, then fade this section, and then carry it over to the next section. Because of how I am, I tend to create the whole guideline all the way around the head, and I just gradually go around the head. I have faded in sections. It's okay. Some do that, some don't. Like I say, there are many different ways to fade. There's no one way, and there's no one right way. It's whatever works for you along with your method. So guidelines organize your fade. So if you don't have guidelines, guess what? You really don't have a roadmap, because the guidelines are the roadmap to help you complete the fade. And in talking about our guidelines and them creating directions, they actually help you track transitions. Having guidelines help you to track the transition. It also helps you to maintain symmetry. So in maintaining symmetry, that's going to help you, track the fade, and it's going to keep you in line with where you are, wherever you are on the head. All right. And it also helps you to control the elevation. As you're moving up in the fade, those guidelines will help you as well, because it's showing and communicating to you where you're transitioning through the fade. And take, for instance, if you're fading in one section, it helps you to know where you are and know what you need to blend, correct, and fix. All right. So without guidelines, guess what? You're blending blindly. Without them, you just blending. You just blending. And once again, like we have here on the demonstration, or I guess you would call it the image, you got the low, you have mid, and you have high. So what I like to measure is the person's tempo. And then you move up a little bit. High fade is usually at the top here, high and tights. You want to ensure that you understand what type of fade that individual is getting, so that you're able to produce the outcome that they want. But once again, our guidelines create direction. And without your guidelines, you don't have a roadmap to completing the fade. So you want to ensure that they're organized, because they also help you organize the cut. So once again, Pretty Ricky got his lines in. Low, medium, high. Dropped. Y'all see that back there, right? Let me slide over, because on my Instagram page, I got to keep it in the window. So you got your drop, and depending on where that occipital bone is on that person's head, you want to ensure that you get it right there. All right. Feel for it. You can feel it. You can feel it. And in his case, I got all this dinging on these phones and stuff. And in his case, he's definitely getting it low, for the simple fact that he's kept a lot of hair here, and it's braided. All right. Right now we got full beat cornrows in the head. But nonetheless, his fade is low, and it's not quite dropped, if you want to say below his occipital bone, but it is dropped a little bit. And I'm going to part it in this section here so you can see it. I did bring my comb, but you see here. All right. I'm going to go and cut that off when I finish. I guess I could cut it here, but I just put too much hair everywhere. So I'm going to cut it later. All right. So point number one, guidelines create direction. They help you track transition, maintain symmetry, as well as control elevation. And without them, guess what? You are blending blindly. So you don't want to be out there blending blindly. So track your guidelines, put them in place, and allow them to help you to not only control the elevation, but control what you're doing with the cut. So I already said this, but I'm going to repeat it again. If your first guideline is off, or if it's uneven, every section above it is going to have to compensate for that mistake. So the important thing is to get that first guideline in and get it in correct. And from there, you can either fade top down or bottom up. Either way, that first guideline has to be on point, or it should be on point. Some people, like their drawing or sketching, they put a a test line in, you know, to kind of get them going, and then they come back in and refine it. I don't know. I just like to set it up. And oh, another point, y'all. Some start back here and go in to their first guideline, whether they start bottom up or top down. But in that, some start and get that set up back here, and then they go off to the sides. Others start making their guideline on the side. They start, you know, setting it up on the side. Some use trimmers. I'm sorry, some use clippers, some use trimmers. I got to tell y'all, true story. When I started fading and I was watching others in the shop, let me tell you, I would see them go in with the trimmers, turn them, and just go ahead and clean up the side, especially if it was a ball fade. They would go in, just drag it down, drag it down, drag it down. Me watching them, observing, hey, I could do the same thing. Still learning now, still learning. I tell y'all what, putting your first guideline or setting the ball line with trimmers, if you don't know how to get that line out, I would advise you, especially your newbies, take your clippers, close them up, and put it in that way. All right? And your handset, be light with it. Whether you do it this way or you take it and do it this way and set it in. All right? If you don't know how to get that guideline out, use your clippers. Close it up, use your clippers. I'm just saying. I learned the hard way. Hey, Sandra, thank you for joining. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. We're talking about blending isn't magic, it's method to trust the process. The first point we've discussed is guidelines create directions, direction. And without them, you have no roadmap. And guess what? You won't have you can still get a good fade once you've adjusted those guidelines. But if that first guideline is uneven, you're going to have to compensate the whole haircut for that, especially if you don't fix it. So our next point is, let's get out of this. Our next point, hey, LaDosha, thank you for joining. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you tuning in. So our next point, I only have 3 points tonight, y'all. Y'all know me. 3 to 5, and I'm out. But nonetheless, our second point is blending in sections, not emotion. What you mean by that, Yah-Tay? What you mean by that? We're going to get into it right now. So new barbers often attack the whole head at once, trying to make it blend. So they all over the place. They all over the place trying to get it. You know, part of it is they're excited. They could be anxious. They could be anxious about it, but oftentimes they're excited. They got a client in the chair. They're gonna knock it out the park. So I suggest to, like I say, work your method, whatever method it is that you're using. Work that method. You're gonna get people. Seasoned individuals in the shop telling you one way or the other, do it this way, do it the other way. You got to do what works for you. I'm not saying don't take in what they're saying. Don't allow it to override how you've been taught and what you know and what works for you. I'll say that because it can be very challenging. You want to respect the senior person or senior individuals in the shop. You want to adhere to what they're saying and sharing with you, but at the same time, don't allow it to override what you know, what's comfortable for you, until you get into a space, or you get into a space where you you're doing it from emotions. I'm just gonna say that. We're gonna leave it at that. So in blending the sections, fade one section at a time. For you new barbers who aren't used to going around the head consistently, fade in your sections and carry it from one section to the next. If you need to take it and pace it that way and slow it down, do what's best. But like I said, new barbers often attack the whole head once trying to make it blend. That creates inconsistency. It really creates inconsistency. So professional blending helps in controlling the sections. And what do we mean by that? Work in one area. When you work in one area let me put the picture up. I'm talking and I ain't put it up. Let's put it up. So when you're working in one area, you want to focus. You want to be focused. You want to have that control and build the foundation. Like I shared with you all, I start with my first guideline. I ensure that it is set properly, because when you set that guideline, whether you're doing it top down, bottom up, wherever you decide to put the guideline in, ensure that it is set, because you're going to build upon that guideline to create the rest of the fade. And if that first guideline, whether it be top or bottom, isn't put in properly, the rest of your fade is going to be off, and it's going to cause it to be inconsistent. LaDosha says, is fading technique different on Asian, white people, and Afro hair? And can a fade be done with shears? The process of fading or system of fading is, let me answer it. The technique is not different in terms of whether you're going top down, bottom up. However, fading the hair is different, if that makes sense, because our texture is a little bit more curlier. You don't see, as I'm gonna call them, mistakes or inconsistencies in the hair as much as you can blatantly see them in textured hair. Personally, I think Asian hair is a lot coarser in terms of its straightness, so it's difficult to cut. And you can fade with shears and your comb. You can fade with them. I'm not good at doing it, but you can. You can take your comb and fade. If you know your angles, you sure can fade with shears. You very well can fade with shears. It has been done, and it will continue to be done. But in answering the question of, is fading techniques different on Asian, white people, and Afro hair, or what we call straight hair and textured hair? Textured hair is African hair. Most African people, or Black people, African Americans, whatever, African Americans, Black people, Africans label themselves, and I'm just being politically inclusive, I guess you could say. Everything else is considered straight hair. So you got straight hair and textured hair. Anytime you're talking about textured hair, most of the time we're talking about individuals with Afro type hair. Mixed children can have a variation of textured hair. Okay. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me. But with that, Asian, Caucasian, most other races have straight hair, in that the technique of fading is the same. It's the method in which you do it. Okay, some fade top down, bottom up. Some use shears. Some use clippers and shears. Oftentimes, when they're fading, they use the clippers and trimmers on the side, and then when they get to the top, they use the shears on top, especially if the length is a little bit longer. So hopefully I've answered that question. And can fading be done with shears? Yes, it can. What about ball fades? What's the difference? Okay, so ball fades is when there's absolutely no hair. And with the, if you see the mannequin, I'm holding a mannequin and you have the diagram on here. You can see some hair in the first image. You see little hair in the second image, and you may see less than that on the third image. But a ball fade is completely bald. Some call it bald, some call it skin. There are different names depending on who you're speaking to. And if you're consulting about a bald fade, you want to ensure that they are specifically talking about a bald fade. And even in doing a bald fade, some like it faded bald with just the clippers. Some like you to come back with the trimmers and clean it up. And then some still like you to come back with the shavers. Hold on, let me go grab my shavers. And I also bought another mannequin. So once again, and the reason why I'm bringing this up about balding someone, because there could be many different reasons as to why they want you to use one over the other. Some individuals, oftentimes those with Afrocentric hair, this irritates them. This is a shaver. It gets you as close as a razor, probably closer than a razor. So if I have an individual that only wants me to bald them with the clippers, I'll close my clippers up, close them. This is all the way closed. I'll close them up and bald them this way. If they can take a trimmer, I'll come back with a trimmer because the trimmer gets you even closer. If they want it super skin or a skin ball fade, then I'll come back with the trimmers. You can also use a razor as well. But for like I say, for textured hair, because of our hair, oftentimes if you're not cutting it properly or cutting it against or with the grain correctly, you can cause that hair when it starts to grow out to curl back in and cause all kind of problems. But nonetheless, I not only pay attention to that, I'm also communicating with my clients as to what is best for them. And most of them I know, many of them don't take this. They take the trimmers. If they want the razor, I use the razor. But back to what about bald fades? What's the difference? Bald fades, okay, he's bald all over. All right. Bald fades is when that, whether it's low, medium, or high, that section of the head is bald out, and then you see the rest of the transition on the fade, such as what we see in our diagram here. So to get back to point 2, professional blending happens in controlled sections. You work in one area, you refine it, and then you move on to the next section. So when you work into one area, you want to focus, control it, and build the foundation. When you get into refining it, that's fine tuning it. You really blending more. You perfect the blend in the section before you move on. Like I said, once again, Some individuals fade in sections. Example, they'll do this, fade it all the way out, then they'll take and go to the next section, fade it out. So I guess for those of you who aren't barbers and don't understand that process, once they've faded this section here, they can see where they left off here and continue that around in this section. Once they faded that, blended it, then they'll go into the next section. And then again, there are some individuals who take their guideline and go all the way around, whether it's high, medium, or low. They'll take it, go all the way around, fade that out, all the way around, go to the next section, fade that out, blend that in, fade it out, go all the way around. So it really depends on the individual. Once they've refined it, then they move forward. They move step by step. Consistency is the result when you're seeing that the fade is consistent all the way around. So with that, you want to control sections, or control sections create consistent results. Emotions create mistakes. So don't work out of emotions, because when you do, you're going to create a lot of mistakes. Try not to jump around the head, all right? If you see something off, wait till you get into that section, because if you're jumping from one side to the other side to the back side, you're going to lose in consistency. You'll probably miss where you are and then create more mistakes, all right? With that, let's get into the next one. Point number 3, let's close this out. And our third point, and I got to share this with you all. I talk about it. So darkness is weight, but it's not always a problem. You have to look at the head. Take, for instance, I have quite a few guys who've played sports. And oftentimes, men who have played sports, especially if it's a sport that wears a helmet, i.e. football, they have dents and crevices in their head from being hit. So those areas create what I call darking shaded areas. And sometimes you got to go in and lighten them up a little bit more than you would in the rest of the head, so that it doesn't create a shadow or look like you missed a patch of hair. With that, like I said, darkness is weight, but it's not always a problem. So not every dark area needs to disappear. Remember that. Not every dark area needs to disappear. And I just gave you an example of why some dark areas need to disappear and why some don't need to disappear. Some beginners overblend, trying to make everything light. You got to look at the head shape. You got to pay attention to the different things that are going on with that person's head and go from there. So darkness, once again, is weight, but it's not always the problem. Darkness creates shape, it creates structure, and it creates depth. And oftentimes artists, especially those who've been in painting or any type of media, they understand that. And I do, from being in the interior design field and visual space and creating lightness or darkness with patterns and, colors and things along those lines. But I want to get back to darkness and what it creates. It creates shape, it creates structure, and it creates depth. All right. So shape, structure, depth. Don't fear darkness. Use it with purpose. And on this diagram, you can see here at the lowest part of the head, Light areas create contrast and definition. So in this young man, if you can see him and see in our image here, where the light area, it creates contrast. You can clearly see from the top of that gentleman's head in the picture that there's contrast there. You see the likeness, you see the midsection here, that is a little darker, but it's not as dark as the top part of his head. And then you got midtones. Midtones create the actual transition and flow. So from the bottom where you see it, the lightness of it, you get into the midtones, which helps you not only to visualize the transition, but it helps to produce the fade so that you can see that it is a fade. And then you get to the top part, the darker area, that adds weight and balance for the haircut itself. So let me take that off. So here again, weight or darkness is weight, but it's not always a problem. And in this case, you're looking at the fade. That darkness helps to create the fade look. You go from light to dark. And if he was bald, you would go from bald, light area, midtones, and then the darker area up top. All right. So once again, darkness is weight, but it's not always a problem. Every dark area doesn't need to disappear. I'm going to say needs to disappear. It doesn't need to disappear because it's part of creating that contrast. It's part of creating the look of the fade. All right. Sometimes you don't need to erase the weight. You just don't. You need to balance it. Make sure that it's balanced on both sides. Use your mirror. For our newbies, use your mirror. Your mirror is your friend. It's going to tell you what the eyes think it sees when you're looking at that cut. So it's good to look away from the head and check your mirror, because your mirror is going to show you things that you might not see staring at that head for an extended period of time. So you want to break it up or look away for a little bit and then look back at the image. In this case, look at the image. But when you got that person in the chair, take a look at their head. Spin them around slowly using that mirror so you can see the shadows. You can see the various areas, especially underneath the occipital bone and on the, the sides. Check those sides, because like I say, if it's a person that has played sports and they got a few dings and lumps and humps in their head, you want to check. Although darkness, again, help you to create shape, help you to create structure as well as depth. Just remember that. Don't always try to think darkness is the problem. It's not always the problem. You got to look at the cut, look at the head, and make it blend. All right. A fade without weight can look flat and unnatural. So the key is to make that haircut look natural, accentuate the positive features of the head, and minimize the not so good features of the head. All right. So once again, darkness is weight, but it's not always the problem. Remember, you got your light areas as seen on the diagram here, which creates contrast and definition. And then you got your midtones, that's between the light and the darker part of the head at the top. That creates transition and flow. You can clearly see how the fade transitions in that middle section. So you need it. And that's a very good example of darkness and weight. And then you have the darker top, the top part of the head, that adds the weight and the balance. Okay. So for my young folks out there, take your time. Don't always try to fade out or blend out all the dark areas. Take a look at the head, use your mirror, and ensure that you're not over blending. Okay, try not to over blend because beginners often over blend. I was there. It was taking out weight that shouldn't have been took out. All right, so in that case, I want to get into our real talk moments because we're preparing to close this out. As I mentioned, we talked about blending in sections, not emotions. And I'm just kind of recapping a little bit. We also talked about guidelines creating direction. Without guidelines, there's no roadmaps. Guidelines help you to organize the fade, all right? Remember that. Guidelines help you to organize the fade. All right, let's get into what I call some real talk moments. Every barber struggles with blending early on. I told y'all I did. I got a lot of bald mannequins in there from practicing and cutting them up. This was one that I cut, and my mentor, Mr. Ronnie, had me put these lines in so that I could know the difference between high, medium, and low fades, and also drop, low fade, medium fade, high fade. All right. And even high can vary depending on the shape of the person's head. Oftentimes you hear it called a high-end type or a military fade. But nonetheless, every head is different. You want to use those points that I shared with you all on previous videos to get that symmetry in the cut, whether you're using the temple, the eye area, the eyebrows, the top of the head. You want to ensure that you use your points to balance out the symmetry in the cut. So once again, point one, guidelines create direction. Point two, blending in sections, not emotion. Point three, darkness is weight, but it's not always a problem. And once again, we're back into the real talk moments. So for the first point, I said every barber struggles with blending early on. I was one of them, y'all. I struggled, which is why I got my little mannequin here that I pull out every so often, especially when I have my young guys that are here that I'm cutting. And, some of them try to cut their hair on their own. Some of them want to cut their hair on their own. And I share with them, especially those who are preparing to transition to go off to school. But nonetheless, college, that is. But nonetheless, I use Pretty Ricky here to help them understand the different points. I also share with them when I'm cutting their hair what it should look like, especially if they forget to put the guard on. I always tell them to make sure that that lever is down or it's open. Okay, make sure it's open so you're not cutting off too much hair. But anyway, every barber struggles with blending early on. The fade usually gets worse before it gets better. True statement. Look, when I thought I was getting better, some of them got worse. But in doing so, that's how you learn. So fades usually get worse before they get better. And you're going through that process. You're figuring things out. You're developing your own system, or you're perfecting the system that you've learned. Either way, oftentimes it gets worse before it gets better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be so hard on yourself like I was, because it's part of the process. It's part of learning. The other thing is overblending oftentimes creates more problems than underblending. So when you getting in and you trying to blend out everything and make it look all good, and be mindful. Know when enough is enough. That's just like cleaning up a line. You can find yourself going up until now you got a totally different haircut than what the client originally asked for. So And over blending, be mindful of it, because when you do that, you'll begin to create more problems than you would if you underblend it. Just be mindful of it. Patience is part of the process. You gotta have patience with yourself. All right. You're new in this, you're learning. Unless you're someone who's been cutting for a long time and then you're going to school to learn the techniques or to get your licenses, because some people go because they want to become licensed and not practice illegally. But in that, practice is part of the practice of patience. I want to say practice. I'm telling you, you should practice. Patience is part of the process. You got to be patient with yourself, because if you rush through it, you're going to make mistakes. All right. You're going to make those mistakes. And then the fifth point I want to share with you is stop trying to save the cut all that at once. Stop trying to save the cut all at one time or all at once. Work on the fade, set your guidelines, blend, don't over blend. Make sure you use them guidelines, because if you don't, you don't have a roadmap. I'm serious. So that's pretty much all I have with this section of this series of Think Like a Barber. Blending isn't magic, it's method. Trust the process. Whatever process that you have in place for your fading structure, utilize that. Like I said in the beginning, there is no right or wrong way to fade in terms of the system in which you use. It's about getting the results that your client wants. If that system works for you, use it, master it. Whether you're fading top down, bottom up, are you fading in sections, whatever works for you, work it. Work it. I'm not saying don't take in what others have shared with you, but at the end of the day, you want to ensure that you're comfortable with the technique is producing the results that you want. And if it is, continue to master it, fine tune it, elevate it, work it. If it's working for you, work it. Like my mentor said, if it's broke, fix it. Fix it. If it's working, keep working it. If it's not broke, why are you fixing it? Enhance it. All right. That's all I have for you. Remember, blending is it's not about perfection. It isn't perfection. It's about control. Controlling your sections, maintaining your guidelines, working those guidelines, not over blending. And like I said here in this real talk moments, blending, no over blending. It's best to under blend than to over blend. Because if you over blend, you're going to end up changing that haircut. Seriously, you're going to end up changing that haircut. Thank you, LaDosha. Great advice. I've been there, y'all. I've done that. I've tried to work with other people's system. You know, I don't know if it's an ego thing with men in the barbershop, want to show you how they do it. And or you know, it could be they just want to get you off your square to mess you up. But you just never know. Barbering is a different monster, you know, especially being a female. And I know folks don't like to talk about that, but it's the truth. It's different being a female in the industry. There are a lot of challenges that come with it. There are a lot of pros that come with it as well. Oftentimes, men enjoy having women as barbers. I'm not saying that we're the only ones that can be detailed, but we tend to be a little more detailed. We know what looks good on a man. You know, I'm just throwing that out there. Oftentimes we do. There's a way that we touch, and I'm not saying, how can I express it? We can have a touch or touch a man in a way that, yeah, produce calmness, makes them feel relaxed. We ain't beating them up and, scrubbing their heads. And, I've had it said to me, I'm just saying, feel like you're not doing anything. I'm letting the tools do the work. And that's another thing I want to share. Y'all do not have to dig in people's head. You don't have to beat them up with you don't have to, just go round and round with them. The tools are going to do the work. They were created to get the job done. Keep a great handset. Work your tools. Let them work. Don't beat the people up. Let me see. Sandra say, I was told that female barbers have that magic touch. I got to tell you, I've heard that. I've heard that. A lot of my clients, they go to sleep. Like this one I had this week. He was like, he woke up, he was like, was I snoring? I was like, no. And even if you was, it's okay. That's a compliment to me because that means they are fully relaxed. They are so relaxed that they snoring, they bobbing their head, they shaking. And even if they're shaking their head or they're bobbing, I work with children, so I know how to work around that. But nonetheless, I think we do it better. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. LaDosha says, I have heard. Yeah, I said that. I have heard that women are better barbers. We are. I think we are, and I guess I'm being partial to that. But nonetheless, blending isn't about perfection. It's about control. It is about control. So when you trust the process, whatever process that is that you have, when you trust the process of your system, stay consistent and understand transition. Understand your transitions. Your phase become clearer naturally. When you trust that process, when you stay consistent with your system and you understand the transitions, I'm going to throw this back up here real quick. When you understand those transitions here, I know it talks about weight, but when you understand those transitions there of light areas, mid-tones, that middle section, and then your darker areas, that top section, guess what? It's gonna become cleaner naturally. Understand your transitions. Set your that, especially that first guideline. You might go around and lightly put it in, but when you go in to fine tune it or finalize that guideline, make sure you got it on point because that guideline sets the tone for the next levels of your fade. All right. So trust the process, stay consistent, understand your transitions, and your fades will become clearer naturally. Let's see. LaDosha says here, I can tell next door that the girls are better, not trying to be pretty. Yeah, we get in, we get it done. We get it done. It's a lot of egos in the barbershop. It's a lot of egos in the barbershop. But anywho, just don't rush it. Don't rush it. Trust the process, stay consistent, understand your transitions. Your phase will become cleaner naturally. Not because you rush, but because you learn the method or you learn your method. You master your method, your system. All right. Remember, this is Foundation Focus Execution. This has been episode number 81. Blending isn't magic. It really is method. And once again, trust yourself, trust the process, stay consistent, understand your transitions, and know that the fade will naturally become clearer. All right. And one more thing, Dark is weight, but it doesn't necessarily mean you got to get rid of it. All right. Look at the head, use your mirror, and work your system. Master your system, and you're going to be fine. If you got any questions or comments, please put them below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all, I appreciate you. Follow me on at Yah-Tay the Barber Stylist. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Yah-Tay the Barber Stylist. And once again, I thank you all for joining Female Barber Talk with Yah-Tay. This has been episode number 81. Blending isn't magic, it's method. Trust the process. And this is once again a part of the Think Like a Barber series. Foundation, focus, execution. This is where skills meet structure and structure builds professionals. Don't forget to share this, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I will see you on the next episode. As a matter of fact, my mentor is coming back up next week, so do tune in. He's excited about coming back. I got to share this with y'all. So if y'all was on the last episode with him, we talked about this. All right, Sandra, thank you. Sandra says, good ideas to follow. Thank you. I appreciate it. She also says, take care all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate that. So before I close out, I want to share this with y'all. So my mentor, I don't know. Of course, y'all know Mr. Ronnie he's a little bit older. So I was trying to get him on the podcast early on. And he was like, no, not sure why. I think it had to do with the comfortable ability of being on, not really knowing, and could be some other things. Oftentimes, seniors or elders, they kind of hesitate about, getting on social media. But I had talked with him this last time, and I was like, Mr. Ryan, I really would like for you to come on. So when he said yes, I was like, oh, okay, this is good. So after his episode, he said he wanted to come back. So he will be back next week, continuing on the subject of preparing the next generation of professionals. And I want to say I am so grateful that he is coming on. Like I shared with him, when we are long gone, this stuff will still be around. He has so much knowledge because he's been in every aspect of the business. And the conversations that we have, the things that he shared. And I'm like, Mr. Ronnie, I just wish everybody knew about what you share with me and some of the others that he mentored here locally and in other states as well. But he's coming back. That's what I really want to share. He's coming back. LaDosha says, can you do a show explaining the clippers and guards? I'm so confused how that works. I will. I'll throw that in after I get through this series, or maybe I'll just come on and do that first before I finish out this series, because I got a few more in this series. But I will put something together for that, because a lot of people don't understand it, less known the open and close of the clippers. But I will do that. I will do that. Thank you for that suggestion. Once again, thank you to those who've tuned in. I appreciate you all's continued support. This has been episode number 81. Blending isn't magic, it's method. Trust the process. And once again, to all my young barbers, those who are considering it, when you get in, listen, be open. Master whatever system you're being taught. If you desire to tweak it, make it work for you. And don't set down what you know that works for you to appease somebody else and their process. And because I've been there. to appease their process, work your system, whether it's top down, bottom up, section, work it, master it. And again, trust your process, stay consistent, understand those transitions, understand transitions, and know if you stick with that, your fades are naturally gonna come out cleaner. All right? Trust your process, and remember, there is a method to this. Just master your method so you won't be in madness when your fade don't come out right and your customer say, I ain't paying you for this. Anywho, good night, y'all. I'll see y'all on the next episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care.
Naturals.